And then we will start. I am Pam Wycliffe with the League of Women Voters. This is Lunch with the League. And welcome everybody that is here and coming. Yes, everybody's probably not here yet. A few things I need to say, and that is we never support or oppose a political party or a candidate. The League is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in the government. And I got to admit there. The League has two separate and distinct roles. One is that we represent unbiased information about elections, the voting process and issues, and we also do action and advocacy. We're nonpartisan, but after study, we use our positions to advocate for or against particular policies in the public interest. And there. So because of that, the comments and opinions you hear from people today aren't necessarily those of the League. We'll be here from now till 1 o'clock.
I'm not.
And the format.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Alfred.
Thank you. Good.
Mute it.
Mute me, please.
The general format, what we're going to do today is I'll do my little spiel, and then Amanda will say her words, and then we will have questions and answers for her till 1 o'clock. Please remain muted. Please remain muted. During the talk. And if you would put your questions in the chat, and then either Amanda or I will read them and then answer them. And Amanda, if I didn't ask you, do you want me to read them to you, or do you want to read them yourself from the chat?
I can probably handle it myself. If we get like a million questions, I'll ask for backup.
Okay. First, we need 1 million people.
Or just a lot of questions from one person.
That's right. That's right. So that'll be it. And if you want more information about the League of Women Voters and their positions, go to lwvsouthbend.org. And it also has a link there to the state, to League of Women Voters Indiana. And also you can get a link from there to the National League of Women Voters. We have a little bit of news, and I told Amanda I would talk really fast so she'd have time to. The Maud Wood Park ward nominations are still open till April the 30th, and nominations can come from members. And it is for somebody who has made a significant contribution to the growth and strength of the League, or to the advancement of civic engagement in our community by promoting voter education, encouraging citizen participation in the democratic process, or advocating for public policy issues. So if you have somebody in mind that you think would be wonderful to have that award, you've got till April the 30th to turn them in to somebody. The folks that are members probably already have the link because you get that update from Jerry periodically, and the link in there is where you would send your nomination, or you can contact somebody. Annual meeting will be at Unity Gardens on June 12th, and we'll eat and we'll socialize. And we'll have a meeting. We'll conduct business. Legislative advocacy, news, and tools. And this is something that we've not talked about before, but our Indiana League of Women Voters issues advocates are continuing to track Indiana legislation and issue action alerts on key legislations. You can go in there and find what they are saying, what they are advocating, how they are saying, you can advocate for certain issues in legislation. And I want to mention just one, because I don't know if we know, but the League, the League of Women Voters, the League of Women Voters of Arizona, the NAACP, the Hispanic Federation, the Asian Pacific American Advocates, and Asian Pacific Islander American Vote filed a federal lawsuit.
Chips and hummus or anything?
Oh, filed a federal lawsuit arguing that President Trump's executive order that ordered the Election Assistance Commission to require documentary proof of citizenship on federal voter registration form, which is the form that we use, which means they would change the form and require that. Threatened to withhold funds from states allowing post-election day receipt of mail ballots and invite DOJ to assist in voter list maintenance, among other provisions, and that it's an illegal order beyond the president's power under the United States Constitution and the federal law. And our chief counsel from the league has said it is an egregious assault on voting rights and the Constitution. We can't allow any president to use an illegal executive order to obliterate the rights of millions of voters. And the league was founded on the fight for women's right to vote and will continue to fight to ensure we protect and maintain this fundamental right for all. And I just thought that was important enough to mention today, even though it doesn't have, it isn't something that we locally are, about, but it is about all of us. And with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker. And if you guys have questions, put them in the chats. Our speaker today is Amanda Miller Kelley. She is the president and general manager of PBS Michiana, WNIT. And that is our public television station that serves 1.2 million viewers in 17 Indiana and 5 Michigan counties across Michiana. Amanda assumed the role of general manager in January 2025. Prior to that, she served as director of development and philanthropic gifts officer at the station. She has spent 17 years working in fundraising, community relations, and marketing. And she's raised more than $14 million for nonprofits, including Ivy Tech Community College, South Bend, Elkhart, National Nonprofit Brook USA Foundation, and the History Museum in South Bend. She holds a degree in sociology and English from Northwestern University, where my granddaughter just graduated.
I love that.
And a certification in executive fund development from the Mendoza College of Business at the University of Notre Dame. She's a native of South Bend and lives in Buchanan with her husband and 2 children. And today she's going to talk to us about the masterpiece to Main Street, PBS Michiana's vital role. And with that, the floor is yours, Amanda.
Thank you, Pam. Are you able to share those slides? If not, it's totally fine. I can talk my way through it.
Okay, I will look and see if I can do that.
So I'll just talk a
Ask
little
me.
bit while you start that.
Yeah, because it asked me for permission. I had to
Yeah, I
have.
should have given you permission for it. You should have it now. Or you might be able to give me permission to share, which would also work. But
You have permission to share.
I have permission to share, then we will just do that.
Okay. Whew. Make that a lot better. There you go.
Okay, so we will get this going. Ignore the fact that I haven't made my updates. Okay, so this is sort of like not a jokey title, but a little bit of a pun from Masterpiece to Main Street, because I'm going to talk about the way that the national PBS brand is brought here locally to our community. As Pam said, I'm the president and general manager of PBS Michiana WNIT. I spent about 5 years at the station, although that has been spread out over a decade. I was there, I left, I came back. And I just assumed the role in January, which has been quite the time to take over a public media station. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But
No, are you?
I messed up. So, I'm sharing the wrong thing. So I will just keep talking. We are public broadcasting started in from the Public Media Act in 1967, which was signed by President Johnson, and it was it was because they saw the need for educational and enriching content beyond commercial television. WNIT was established
I'm just curious.
in 1972 here in our area as Northern Indiana Television. And we went on air in January of 1974, which means we just celebrated 51 years on the air.
Excuse me, Susan?
Yeah.
I mean, Amanda, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
I was looking at somebody's name. Could you, could everybody please mute so there aren't any interruptions? I'm not seeing who is not muted, but someone isn't. And then, thank you.
You're
We'll
welcome.
see. Okay.
And so when we went on the air in 1974, I think about this a lot because we were founded by a group of concerned citizens who really wanted to bring educational television to the area. And it included Jerry Hamas, Ernie Racklin, a group of people who really helped make this happen with the help of commercial broadcast and the University of Notre Dame. And I just wonder what they would think if they saw now. I actually talked to Jerry Hamas about this quite a bit. We started as a part-time station. Like we would go off the air in the evenings. And now we run 5 channels that run 24 hours a day. So we're airing 43,800 hours of television each year. And that doesn't count the streaming. It doesn't count, the kids who are playing with content on the apps. So we're really, the number of hours that we are present in this community is large. So I think when I think about PBS, I think about arts and culture, I think about education. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple of our areas of culture that probably a lot of you know. And when we go to the question and answer, I'm very interested in hearing people's favorite PBS programs. But we have all your masterpiece favorites, All Creatures Great and Small, Miss Scarlet, which I recently learned is referred to as a cozy mystery. And I didn't know that we referred to murder things as cozy, but we do now. Great performances, American Masters, of course, our buddy Rick Steves, and things like Antiques Roadshow. Then we have our educational lineup, and this is all the adult educational programming. Secrets of the Dead, Nature, Nova, America's Test Kitchen, our guy Henry Louis Gates, Finding Your Roots, who we love, and those Ken Burns documentaries like Leonardo or the Civil War. We know that a lot of our audience is coming for this national programming that PBS has been for 22 years rated #1 in public trust. People know that when they come to our station, they're going to find something that's well researched, that is well put together, and that is probably worth their time to watch. And we really appreciate that about all of those national programs. And then, of course, I'm the mother of 2 toddlers, so this is a particularly important screen for me. And that is our Little Learners Big Fun, our PBS Kids. PBS Kids is locally the #1 watched the kids channel in our region. 2, 3, and 4 are Nickelodeon, Disney, and Boomerang. And we are watched by more kids than those 3 combined. We are the #1 kids channel in the area. We're very proud of that because all PBS Kids programming is educator vetted. It is all curriculum based, and any program that you find on PBS is either focused on STEM, literacy, or social emotional learning. There is a purpose to every program, and it's non-commercial. I always joke that I can tell when my kids have been watching something that's not PBS because my daughter comes and says, "I want a Barbie dream house," or my son wants a Nerf something. And all PBS Kids is non-commercial. We really value the fact that parents can trust what their kids are watching when they're watching PBS Kids. And we reach 96% of our region's children. This is such a crucial part of our mission. 63% of parents call PBS Kids the most educational brand for children, and we're proud of that. We average 232,000 over-the-air views per week. And last month we had 932,000 streams. So those kids watching via their Roku or their Apple TV or watching on an iPad. we really try to lean into the idea that not all screen time is necessarily bad. Certainly, we appreciate the recommendations for limiting screen time, but like our pediatrician says, if you're going to do screen time, we like Daniel Tiger, we like Sesame Street. The PBS Kids brand is really trying to lean into the fact that parents are going to use screens, and so let's make it quality screen time. And then this is a piece about PBS that I think a lot of people might not know. I actually didn't until recently, but PBS is a really crucial part of the emergency warning system. Because PBS covers 97% of the households in the country, it's the widest network in the country. And our towers are so powerful that we have a 99.99% uptime. We have 330 plus member stations around the country. So what does that mean? That means that we are, when an emergency happens, we're a really important part of sharing that emergency network. So we put out about 11,000 or more weather emergency alerts annually. When a national alert is created, the alert originator, right? So maybe that's like your local weather warning system. The originator sends that alert to FEMA, and then we all know FEMA, the federal emergency. Then FEMA sends that alert two places, one to the mobile carriers, and number two to PBS. So we get it at the same time as the mobile carriers. We're the backup carrier. We air that alert on all PBS stations, and then we send it again to mobile carriers. We're upright and we are available when all other systems fail. So if you are in a remote area, your mobile carrier might not be holding up. If there is a flood, your mobile carrier might not hold up, but you know who is holding up? PBS. So we're making sure that life-saving alerts reach communities when other systems fail, and that's no one else can do that. Nobody else in the country is able to cover what we cover. So that's not as exciting as like Ken Burns, but it is a really crucial part of what we do. And I think one that we don't talk about a lot. And so this image is just, when I pulled this image this morning, there were no emergency alerts in the country, but if there were, PBS Warn would show you where it is on the map. And if you were in that area, PBS would be able to be in touch with your mobile carrier. And then we get into the local part of what we do. So PBS Michiana is a member station of PBS, but we are also telling our local stories. We're telling the stories of our community. These pictures here are just some of the documentaries that we've done in the last 2 years. We average 3 to 4 documentaries, full-length documentaries a year. So we have our Legends of Michiana series, where we tell the story of, someone who helped build South Bend in some way, whether that's through a business or through, like in the case of Gladys Muhammad, being a community organizer. We recently did a documentary on the Pekagan Band of Potawatomi, a story about the Great Migration, the story of Black families moving from the South into the North. And that to us is so important because we're the only people telling our stories. We are now the only locally owned and operated station left in our area. Everyone else is owned by a larger company that is not in South Bend, Elkhart, Michigan, Southwest Michigan. We're the only ones who are in the community and telling the community stories. So those 3 to 4 documentaries a year that we produce are a real point of pride for us. And then we have our weeklies. We do 6 weekly shows. Dinner and a Book, which has been on forever, and everybody knows it, and it's one of my favorites. Also, it makes the entire building smell really good when Gail is filming it, because, or April, when Gail or April are filming, because they're actually cooking in the studio. Economic Outlook, which is hosted by Jeff Ray. Education Counts Michiana, which is really interesting because it's the only show of its kind in the country. We meet with groups of educators twice a year, find out the big issues in education, whether that's nationally or locally, and then we find local education systems that are addressing it. And we highlight how they're being addressed, especially if it's been successful. It's really telling the stories of success in education in our community. And then other school systems or other educators are watching the show and then putting some of those practices into place, which we're that to us is the real success of the show. Experience Michiana, another favorite, really highlighting the great things that are happening in our area. Outdoor Elements, Evie again has been doing that one for a long time, and that actually is our number one ever viewed clip on YouTube, is when she's discussing a black widow. Oh no, a brown recluse spider, and it has like 1 million views on YouTube. And then Politically Speaking, which may be particularly of interest to this group, it's hosted by Elizabeth Benyon and looks at the local, state, and national politics and how they're impacting our area. We also now have 2 digital programs, which we didn't have until very recently. Joey D's Kitchen, which we know cooking shows are a big popular thing with our audience. So Joey D, his name is actually Joe DiMaggio, which is confusing because of the baseball player, but we call him Joey D, and he's a vegan chef out of Berrien County, and he brings us into his kitchen and teaches us how to make things that look really good. And then Crossroads, which is a news magazine show that is sharing some of the real highlights of maybe some of the things that you wouldn't hear about otherwise. Places that are recently we did one on the therapy dogs in Cass County and how they're being used in cases in prosecutors' office cases with children, things like that. So Crossroads has been very popular segment by segment online. But we are not just television. Because we are community based and because everything that we do is centered around this community and our viewers who live here, we also make it a point to be out in the community and partnering with other agencies as much as possible. We filmed Better Homes, the play, in the South Bend Civic Theater. We wanted to make sure that that was a story that people could hear. It's the story of it's a story of redlining in South Bend during the Studebaker era, and was based on a book that was written by a local author. And that was actually nominated for a NITA award, which is a national public television award. We're very proud of that one. But we were able to bring more people in to the audience of that play than would even fit in the theater through its whole run. So we were able to bring so many more people to see live theater and tell a really important story. You see a screenshot there of some PSAs we're running right now for Autism Acceptance Month that we did in partnership with Logan. We have a great relationship with the South Bend Cubs. We bring Daniel Tiger out there every summer and pass out educational materials to all the kids who are there to see Daniel Tiger. The Indie Lens pop-up has been which is a national PBS affiliated organization, has been working with the Elkhart Public Library. And so we've been down there for a film series that they've been doing. We were out at Science Alive talking about how television is made. And we try to bring our characters out as much as possible. We've had Super Y, we have Nature Cat, we have Daniel Tiger, because it really gets kids excited and it makes them, when we then pass out educational materials, it makes them want to learn. And we have found that the characters are just a really great entrance into that. Although I will say, not Curious George, because Curious George, once you put that costume head on him, is like 6.5 feet tall, and it turns out bringing a 6.5 foot tall monkey around small children is terrifying. So we had more tears than we had joy. So we don't bring Curious George anymore because he is frightening. And then that picture at the bottom with all the kids, that's our education engagement coordinator, Leah Steinheiser, has been doing the Read Across America. And so she's been going and reading books to the kids, and again, bringing some PBS Kids educational materials out. It's a huge part of what we do. Everyone who works with us lives in this community. Everyone who works with us is engaged here. So those partnerships mean a lot to us. And one thing that is starting to change is we know people are not watching on television as much anymore. Some people still are. If you want, I would be interested to hear in the chat how you watch TV. If you watch it over the air, if you watch it via an app. We're a Roku household, so we watch almost all of our TV over Roku. We can watch live TV, or we can watch from the app. So we are available over the air all the time. We are also available streaming on our website through the PBS app. You can find us our clips of our stuff on Facebook and Instagram, full episodes on YouTube. And if you are a member, of PBS, $5 a month or more, you're eligible for PBS Passport, which means you can binge watch your shows. So I did that with Marie Antoinette last year. I just sat and I watched all of the episodes. Because PBS isn't set up for that. You know, PBS is really a 1 week and the next week and the next week, but Passport members get exclusive information about what shows they can watch. So we're trying. PBS hasn't always been set up to keep up with the way modern media is going, and so we're really working to catch up there. You'll find some of our shows doing very well on streaming, and some of our shows are really set up for linear viewership. So as we look at what's happening in the changing broadcast world, those are some of the numbers that we really have to explore. And now, the part that makes my job really interesting every day, which is just how much the landscape for public media is changing. We are really caught in the crosshairs of some polarizing political statements. And so in today's complex landscape, we believe that public media is more crucial than ever. Our goal is always to provide as much unbiased information as we can. We don't do local news for that reason. There are local news stations. We don't have the capacity to report on breaking news, but we do try to bring the local issues to the forefront on our local shows like Economic Outlook and Politically Speaking. And as part of that, we're always looking to make sure that we're including diverse perspectives. Funding and support for PBS Michiana and all of public media is really essential to maintain the independence and to ensure access that all community members can have to the information that we're putting out and just the content that we're putting out. That includes the kids programming. 40%, more than 40% of our people who watch PBS kids programming are making under $40,000 a year. We are serving a purpose as the largest classroom in the area, and all of the funding and support that we get from the government, from our viewers, from our underwriters, that all goes to make sure that everyone in this community has access to good information and to good quality content. We at WNIT really want to preserve the integrity of public media. It is important to us that we are trusted and that people know that they can turn to us for educational programming, for cultural programming, for good conversations about what's happening in the world and in the country and in our community. And I think something that's important for this audience is we really believe that our democracy is important, and that to maintain that democracy, it is vital that we have well-informed citizens. It is crucial that we are making information available to everyone. We do not want to find ourselves in a world where you have to be able to pay for Netflix or pay for a subscription service to be able to have access to that kind of information. Public media is accessible and free, and it's really important to us that we continue to provide that. So one thing that Pam had asked me to talk about was that this group might be interested in ways to help ensure that public media remains available to everyone. PBS Michiana and all public media stations are public-private partnerships. We receive some federal funding, and those dollars are used as seed money. So we use that to turn around. We get the public media dollar amount is about $1.60 per person. For public television in our region, we get about $1 per viewer. We turn that into almost $4 from community support. So every dollar we get in federal funding, we're matching almost 4 times. It's really like 3 point something, but we're turning around and matching that more than $3 to the dollar that we receive. PBS Michiana, I'm very open about these numbers. You can find it too in our 990s and everything, but we are about 20% federally funded. We're almost a $4.2 million organization, and we're getting about $900,000 a year from the government. And that puts us at an interesting place because there are rural stations who are receiving 50% of their funding from the federal government. If federal monies go away, they can't exist anymore. Then there are more urban stations in much larger markets, like a WFYI in Indianapolis. They're about 8% federally funded. So if the federal funding goes away, that's okay. For us at 20%, it would hurt, but we're determined to stay the course. The person who runs our website asked if we should start thinking about putting up a page if we lose federal funding to explain a closure. And the answer that I've been giving to questions like that is this is going to break our legs if we lose federal funding, but we don't need to write an obituary for that. And we are lucky to have a little bit of time to be planning for this. And so to that end, we're asking people who do support public media and specifically who support PBS Michiana, WNIT, to do a couple things. One of those is share why you love PBS Michiana. And I do mean that sharing like in a social media aspect, and I mean it in just a personal one-on-one aspect. From a social media aspect, we are launching nationally a campaign called Viewers Like Me, where people are talking about their personal affinity for PBS. My story that I shared in a letter I just wrote that's going out in our magazine is that I remember when I was little, I would sit in front of the TV with my dollhouse and I would make my dolls watch Mr. Rogers, and like I would change their clothes when he changed his cardigan, and I would change their shoes when he sang "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood." But like maybe you watched Julia Child all the time, or maybe you remember sitting with your kid and watching Sesame Street and doing the alphabet song with them. Maybe you saw something on Rick Steves and you thought, I have to go there, and you did. So we're asking people to share that. And then if you have a story that you really want to share, we are trying to record some to be used locally in our studio to be used with a membership drive. So if that is something that's interesting to you, my contact information is coming up. We're also working on building a financial firewall in case we do lose the federal funding. We'll adjust no matter what happens, but if we can offset some of that funding, that's even better. So you can do that on our website if you want to donate personally. If you're connected to a business and you'd like to underwrite, again, it is beneficial to be associated with the number one we're the number one in public trust. So people have found it beneficial to underwrite with us. That's another available thing. And then this group in particular, I think probably is good to discuss the importance of using your voice. PBS has been on the chopping block for a long time. Whenever there's a change in budget, people always throw up the idea of should we stop funding public media? And the one thing that has always kept us in the budget is local citizens reaching out to their representatives and saying, public media is important to your constituents, and this is why. That has saved us every time. And I do think it's interesting that there have been a number of executive orders or immediate cutoffs of funding for things like the NEH and the NIH. And we haven't seen that yet with public media. And I think some of that is because we have a vocal constituency who is very willing to say, if I lost my public media station, if our community lost our public media station, it would be detrimental. So we encourage everyone. We are a 501c3, so we don't do lobbying, but we are able to say if it is of interest to you to share your stories, you can reach out to your elected representatives. There's also a grassroots organization called protectmypublicmedia.org. That actually writes you just put in where you live, and it can help write the letters for you. It can help send the letters for you, but it's a very easy way to really boost that signal. We had Protect My Public Media Day last month. It was a nationwide effort to get some letters out. And Indiana, the number of people who wrote letters that day increased by 25%, which was pretty remarkable. So those are just a couple ways that as we kind of look into the future of public media, and we don't know what it looks like, uncertain times are the only thing we can be sure of right now is that nothing is certain. Those are just a couple ways I wanted to share. And now the best part for these, because no one really loves to hear me talk, like I'm not that interesting. I like the Q&A part. I like the part where people are able to talk about if you watch PBS, what do you watch? If you have any questions for me, I'd love to hear them. I don't know. I can't find it. There it is. These are really good. These are really, Sue Kasem said, maybe Curious George should show up out on the field at 4-1s where he won't look so big. That's true. So more reading programming. That literacy rates did go down with COVID, and that's been a huge struggle within the schools. So we design locally a literacy coloring book, and we hand that out at every kid event that we do. One number I didn't point out last year, and we expect this number will go up this year. Last year, we got literacy books into the hands of 17,000 kids by going to these events, like back so through community partnership, we were able to get literacy books into hands of 17,000 people. We just redid them this year. We based them on the Indiana curriculum. And I don't know how we would track the success of those versus, the change in education, but we agree with you that literacy is a huge issue that we're trying to help support. With all the views on YouTube and Facebook, are we signed up to get monetary compensation for those views? That's a really good question. We are in the process of doing that. We have enough views to be able to do so. We have hit one snag, which is that when someone underwrites we do what we call underwriting spots, right? Where it's that 15-second. Sue Kasem appreciates the programming on WNIT and one of those 15-second spots. We put them unlisted on YouTube to share them with our underwriters to get their approval. And you can't have, we have to move all of those off before we can get monetized. So that's actually a process that we're working on right now, because the monetization is a huge untapped resource for us. We won't get a ton. The ones that have, when you start, you get usually between like 500 and 1,000 a month, but that's thousands of dollars a year that we're not currently getting. So yes, you are exactly right there. WNIT swag to raise funds. I will tell you, you're going to be the first group to hear this. Does anyone remember WNIT belongs to me? That was our tagline about 25 years ago. We are relaunching that this summer with some tote bags and mugs that we'll be able to sell. And as a televised pledge is going down, our rate of return on televised pledge is starting to decrease because people aren't watching television as much. When I first started at WNIT about 10 years ago, we would regularly budget to make $80,000 to $100,000 a year, or each pledge session, and we do 2 large pledges a year. This year for our big pledge, the goal was 25,000, and we made it, but it was tight. But so our over the air pledge is dropping by about 75%. That's just the nature of the media, that the way people are consuming media, but it does mean we're needing to find ways to offset that. And launching the WNIT belongs to me is one way that we're trying to offset that.
I want to say on the reading books, that's wonderful. And because there's such a decrease in Head Start,
Yes.
I had suggested to our main St. Joe County Public Library to create reading kits that, since they aren't bringing the kids to Head Start, that the reading kits go to them. That, if they're not showing up, we need to go to them.
Yeah.
So just a thought was maybe you could include that coloring book with the main library's bag or kit that's going to be going out to local kids. Just an idea. If you have
That's a
extra
great
coloring
idea.
books, maybe partner with them.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
And then
the
maybe
coloring
in the
books-
book, you could also put a note that reading kits are available, sort of cross-pollinate.
Cross market. That's a fantastic idea. I will bring that up to our education outreach coordinator. That's great. And we're always looking for these kinds of partnerships where we can tag, and we do quite a bit with the St. Joe County Public Library because they are so well connected in so many areas. And I love that one. Well, I will bring that up.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. No, that's brilliant. Do I know if C-SPAN is available on Hulu? You know what, Beth? I don't know the answers to those questions, but I will get them for you. Services, C-SPAN is available on Hulu, and how does C-SPAN get funded? I don't know how C-SPAN is funded. I have no idea, but I can find out for you. Am I a member of the League of Women Voters? I live in Berrien County. My mother-in-law has been very involved in the League of Women Voters and who keeps trying to get me. And so this morning I wrote down, find out how to join, because I think particularly given some things that have been happening politically, women voters are a crucial piece of this pie. So I actually did write it down on my list this morning that I need to get involved with that. It would be great to have a few short spots to show when on PBS NewsHour they say, and now here's a message from your local PBS station. That's true. Oh, Jerry, thank you. Berrien Cass has an active league. I will find out. I will actually after this, I will go sign up. And I like, especially if we're doing more virtual meetings, because I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. So getting out of the house is difficult. But if we're doing them virtually, that is doable for me. Lynn, I like this. A few short spots to show when on PBS NewsHour they say, and now here's a message from your local PBS station. Some of that's a traffic issue, what we're able to drop in, but I think we could absolutely do that.
I was thinking that, you know, if you're going to be recording some testimonials, that would be a great way to
Yeah.
use those, you know, use the same things you're already
That
creating.
we're already doing. Yeah, don't double our work. Our production team is small but mighty. We have 8, it's supposed to be 9 right now. It's 8-person production team. Oh, Amanda, Pam tells me that we have men members join the league as well, so that's good. I'll tell my husband. But we are what was I saying? Oh, I lost it. But I love
You
that.
have a
And
small but
our
mighty
production team is small
team.
but mighty. So they are you know, they do all of these shows, and so whenever I can do something that does double duty, I think that that's a really crucial piece of making sure that I'm not overworking people. So I like that a lot. I think we're going to be recording in May. We have 2 recording days in May. So truly, if you do have a story that you want to tell about public media, or if this is something that's interesting to you, please do. My contact information. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just going to close the chat. My contact information is right there. So please do reach out, call me or email me. I'm working from home today because I was in Bristol until 9 o'clock last night and I didn't want to drive into the office. But I'm working from home today. So I won't answer if you call, but if you email me, I will get you in touch with who we need. Do local stations have to pay in order to have a spot shared during NewsHour? So not necessarily. We do our own traffic, which means we drop our own spots. If NewsHour has sold a spot separately, then we aren't allowed to override that. But on almost all of our programs, assuming those spots have not been sold nationally, we can. Sometimes they will tell us, like, this show is sponsored by a travel agency, so you are not allowed to do an adjacency with another underwriter who's a travel agency. But if you're promoting your own station, those rules are very flexible. I missed something here. Oh, thank you for Legends of Michiana, highlighting so many people who've had a huge impact on our community. Some people might be familiar with the names. You know, I think that's one of the things about Legends, is that Legends, I think the Lynn Coleman one that we did this year, I don't know if many people know how much Lynn Coleman has done for South Bend. And we're working on one right now in Berrien County, on Lauren and Lowell Hamill, who are twin brothers who are from Berrien County, went to medical school. They both came back and they became CEO and COO of Corewell, which really, living in Berrien County, I know that Corewell has really changed access to medicine for a lot of people in rural areas of Michigan that maybe a lot of our region doesn't know about. So it's always really interesting to hear these stories. And our producers have done a great job of helping find those, not the subjects of the legends, but like the additional interviewees who can really help bring that story out. What we have found is a lot of interviewees don't want to tell their own story with like quite as much pride as we feel they should put into it. So you find their friends or their siblings who are willing to say, no, what they did was remarkable. And we've really enjoyed that. Legends are one of my favorite things that we do. Oh, Pam likes finding your roots. I agree that it encourages me to find out more about my own ancestry too. I always hope that they would find someone like really cool that that I would like to be related to, you know. I supposedly I'm related to the Chryslers. My aunt who's very into genealogy tells me that, but that's all I know. What about, does anybody else? What I will tell you in my house, mostly what we watch is PBS Kids. We do a lot of Super Y, a lot of Daniel Tiger. So I try to watch stuff when I'm at work because I have a TV in my office, and it feels like it counts as work if I have PBS on, right? But so finding your roots, I'm a big fan of, and we've got the cooking shows. America's Test Kitchen. I really like America's Test Kitchen. I always feel like I learned something from that one. So. But if anyone else has any particular favorites, I'm also excited to share that there will be a new Ken Burns documentary coming out about America's 250th. So, oh, the Vietnam documentary, that was very good. So I'm super excited for the new Ken Burns. Also, again, during a time when, oh, Jerry, I'll answer that in a second because I have an answer to that question. In a time when, again, things are so polarizing, I think the ability to celebrate our country's 250th birthday, there's a real patriotism there that we're really excited to kind of be a part of. And so we've talked about maybe locally, of course, in like the Revolutionary War, Indiana, not a big player because we didn't exist yet. But we have so many experts in this community who do know what was happening at the time of the Revolutionary War, at the time of the signing of the Declaration. And so, is there a way for us to bring in a historian who can talk about this is what those uniforms looked like, or a musicologist who can say, this is the kind of music that you would have heard on the, around during that time period. So, we're looking at ways to bring that story more local too with some digital shorts. Jerry says, I was reading an article that mentioned the diverse audience that is reached by PBS Kids. I wonder if that is true locally. And it is. So our PBS Kids audience is very significantly more varied than our evening PBS audience. Our evening PBS audience tends to be 55 plus, primarily white, and making more than $100,000 a year. Our PBS Kids audience, I just had all these statistics. Jerry, I can send these to you, but it is, I think it's about 30% Black, 25%, it's less than 50% white. And again, the economic diversity is very different there, where more than 40% of them are under $40,000 a year. So the way that we reflect the audience there is really that these are the kids who don't have access to necessarily early childhood education, which as Sue was just mentioning, that's a big issue here. So we really try to position ourselves to be easily accessible. We do QR codes all the time when we pass out kids stuff because we want parents who need help with their children to have a safe place to go, right? So PBS Kids app with all of the educational games, the PBS Kids learning media, which is for kids 0 to 18. So there's like activities you can do with your kids, activities your kids can do if they are of an age where they can do some more independent play. And of course, the PBS Kids television channel. So it's really important to us that we're able to direct parents, caregivers, and teachers. I talk about this with my kids' preschool teachers sometimes. Just a lot of people don't know that it's there. And so that's one of the reasons we have a dedicated person doing education outreach, because the resources are huge. We have the 100,000 plus resources all for free, all in one place. So we love the Sunday night mysteries. Those are so popular. If I were awake at night instead of falling asleep, putting down my toddlers, I would also love them. I do watch them on Passport sometimes. The Long Lost Family, available on Passport. I've heard a couple people really like that. Does current diversity, equity, and inclusion affect programming? It's an interesting question. We believe locally that all of our programming should reflect our audience. And as I've been talking, our audience is varied. So there was a little bit of pushback. PBS nationally closed their DEI office. And that was a lot of the member stations had a big problem with that. We can't change that. We have all voiced our opinion. They did it at the advice of council. But what we have taken on our station is the commitment to whatever is happening nationally. We pick what we're airing locally, and we want to make sure that it is reflecting our audience. So we're committed to making sure that on our station it's not. I wish I had like a more clear nationwide answer, but I can answer for our station, which is that we're making sure that it isn't. We work with a company called the Programming Service, who programs stations similar to us, our size. We're what's considered a large small station. So you become a large station at or a medium station at 4.5 million, and we're almost 4.2. So we're on the very large side of a small station. And so we're looking at similar markets to ours, and things with what's worked well and so we're always looking at what our audience is reflecting, and then what has worked well, what has gone over well in other markets similar to ours. And so in doing that, we're trying to make sure that all of our programming is really reflecting who's watching us, because that's really crucial. Interesting and meaningful stats. Thank you. Okay, Jerry, one thing to know about me is I love a statistic. I love a number. It comes from my fundraising background, which is like, I think numbers tell a story. I don't think just numbers flat in front of you tell a story, but I think being able to talk about numbers tells a story. And so I'm always looking for the good numbers that we can use to kind of explain who we are and who our audience is. So I'm glad someone appreciates my love of statistics. It's not everybody does. Beth says, I'm a huge NPR fan, but have not been a big PBS fan. You're being with us today will change. Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you so much. And if you need any PBS recommendations, let me know. Kathy, thank you too. I really love doing these kinds of conversations. I think that they're one of the most important things that I do in this role, is get in front of people and talk about PBS and address questions, and rave a little bit about what we do. I'm so committed to our mission, and I'm so proud of the work that this team does. So I will always talk to anybody about all of this.
Well, we're coming to the end, and I have to ask
Oh.
one question in person, because I don't want to write it, because it'll be, I'm like a dog with a bone. The DEI, they had to close their office there. Does that mean, though, that will affect who is in, like, Sesame Street, or who is in any of those programs as far as diversity goes and inclusion?
It shouldn't. No, the programming shouldn't be impacted by PBS's decision to remove those positions. The DEI positions were primarily for internal things, like people who worked for PBS. So we don't anticipate any reflection in what's coming out nationally. Paula Kerger, who's the CEO of PBS, has made a similar commitment to PBS programming that I was saying that we made, which is that while those positions, I believe those positions were important to the internal PBS kind of people, right? They were like the people positions. They didn't impact programming at all, so they shouldn't. And a number of our kids programming, Sesame Street is actually run by Sesame Street Workshop, so they won't be impacted by that at all. Don Quixote, Daniel Tiger, those are run by Fred Rogers Productions, so those shouldn't be impacted. And then when you look at a lot of our programming, particularly our kids programming, it's just so baked in, because so much of what we're talking about is social emotional learning, which includes acceptance and talking to people. So much of it is so baked in that I can't imagine any of that going away, but I don't foresee that being a problem, no.
Thank you.
Could I hold a fundraising class in the WNIT community room? Sue, will you send me an email about that? Because I would love to do that. I would like that. I would love that. Thank you. May we use a conference room at your building for a meeting? Yes, you may. We have a community room. This picture back here on this slide, that is our building right there at the corner of Lafayette and Jefferson. And we have a beautiful community room that we love to open up for meetings. So just shoot me a note and I will do that. We'd be happy to set that up for you all.
Okay, unless there is an urgent question yet, I just want to thank you, Amanda, for all that you have taught us and shared
Um,
with us, and the importance of PBS. I think we all knew that, but it's nice to know and have it reconfirmed, have it confirmed by you.
and truly, if you have any questions, I'm not in my office a lot. I'm running around quite a bit because my goal is to be in front of as many people as possible, but I'm constantly checking email and I'm constantly checking my voicemail. So please do just reach out with any questions, any ideas. And if I can't answer your question, I will find out for you. I know the one question I'm leaving with is about if C-SPAN is still available on Hulu and how it's funded. Does anybody else have any more questions that I should take back and find out the answer for? Okay, well, if you do, you know how to get me.
Amanda, thank you so much. And
Thank
everybody
you.
else, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you all
and
for
spending
being
your
here.
time on this sunny day. Yeah.
And thank you for saying I'm the best Pam Clays. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I
Everyone have a good
appreciate all of
afternoon.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I had no idea they had that kind of coverage, provided that